Welcome back to another episode of Week in Review from CitizenCitadel. We've got 8 more topics for you this week, from the final 3.1.4 release, to the item kiosks, to the tutorial and Starlifter competitions. There's a lot to cover. So with that said, let's go. Welcome back. So at number 8 we have the 3.1.4 release. 3.1.4 made its way to the live servers at long last. It's been in PTU for over 3 weeks now, and many have been eager to see it finalised. The primary change is to the IFCS system, having been much improved since 3.1, but it does remain unfinished. This is likely due to the devs needing to move their attention to 3.2, and we may see this polished before the final 3.2 release. Most of the remaining changes relate to fixes for the IFCS, GravLev, and the movement system in general. The overall flying experience should feel a lot smoother now than it did in 3.1. And as always, a few bugs were smashed, including multiple players spawning in the same hab, empty ship kiosks after a crash, and 4 fatal errors. At number 7, we have ship sales. This week sees the Starlifter remain on sale. Your chance to pick one up is fading fast, so grab one now if you want to take advantage of the LTI offer. Your next chance to do so could be quite a while away. At number 6, we have the roadmap update. This week we've seen more positive progress, with a 6% overall increase in progress towards 3.2. One feature was marked as complete this week, though not the one I would have expected. Remotely operated turrets on vehicles was the first task of 3.2 to be checked off as complete. I'd have expected one of the character items to be first, seeing as how most of them are sat at 90%, but I'm certainly not complaining. Several items had large progress jumps this week, including quantum linking with 29%, ship persistence improvements at 25%, and 23% on the Klaus and Werner D'Amico. The manned turrets on vehicles and escort beacon are the only items remaining on the roadmap that haven't been started, though both of them currently only have one task to complete. With the completion of this first feature, we may see work start to begin on these 2 remaining features. Overall, good progress again, and the total of 41% progress overall for the 3.2 patch is an encouraging sign. This said, CIG do need to pick up the pace if they want to see all of these features make their way to the final 3.2 release. 3.3 saw an overall step backwards this week as more tasks were fleshed out and added to in-progress items. That said, object container streaming actually progressed well, seeing 6% added to code conversion and 3% to background spawning. This brings OCS to a total of 66% completion. This is good progress for a feature which isn't expected to release until sometime around September. FPS weapon use was the biggest winner this week, seeing a 12% improvement despite gaining one task, but the Mustang Alpha was the biggest loser at a 10% loss. We don't need to be too concerned about these tasks just yet, as they aren't due to be released until September, and the bulk of development efforts are still focused on 3.2. That said, these are encouraging signs, and fingers crossed we see many of these features make their way to the final 3.3 release. At number 5, we have lore content. This week gave a special nod to you outlaws and pirates, with a broadcast from Jester giving his opinion on the dress code many pirates seem to be adhering to these days. This installment of Booty Call gave his opinions on the outfit we wear, and what he considers proper outlaw dress. It's an interesting point to think about, and I'll link the post in the video description. At number 4, we have Around the Verse. ATV this week came in 3 main segments, with an update on the progress of development in the PU, a look at the item kiosks, and an installment of Shipshape. To start with, we'll update on the PU. More progress has taken place on mining, and it's starting to look a lot more complete. The UIs are being worked on and completed, and CIG confirmed weapons will be offline when mining due to the power allocation. A lot of the VFX has been updated for damage to ships and weapons. These are looking a lot more realistic and convincing, and the FPS AI is coming along really well. Door animations for hangars are also making progress, moving towards making them usable in rest stops. Hurston is progressing well, with the biome work continuing to improve. Lorville is also really taking shape, with it starting to feel like a Hurston base. The fog and VFX really make it feel like you're on Hurston. Moving on, we have the Item Kiosk system. The Item Kiosk will eventually give us the ability to purchase items that won't fit in a physical store, such as ships and large ship components. With the new system, you can preview the items on your ship and it will give you a system to filter the items by compatibility with your ship. This will be super handy in making sure components will fit and work with the ships that you own. The new kiosk also allows for branding of kiosks, making it easy for shops to have their own UIs. This will make all of the stores feel really unique, even when using a kiosk system. You will also be able to purchase items to put in storage. This will allow you to load up on items such as missiles, and load them into a storage location for future use. The kiosks will help to progress the economy, with items that are common in a given location being cheap, but in locations where the item is rare, they may be really expensive or impossible to purchase altogether. This will encourage citizens to travel to find items that they want instead of getting everything in one place. 3.2 hopes to see the first iteration of this system, with many of the new features in place. As always, it won't be final and will be missing many features, but it should allow us to purchase items we don't currently have access to in the verse. Finally, we have this week's ship shape. This week's focus showed off the Vanduul Blade and some of the progress being made. The interior UI of the ship is entirely holographic, with a red display for flight control. It's very impressive and rather sinister looking. A lot of the inspiration for this ship was drawn from the lore, looking at how the Vanduul design ships and weapons. This is shown in the mix of technologies within the ship and the lack of concern for aesthetic. A lot of the blade design has been tweaked to make it work under the current systems and design for the Vanduul. The ship is looking very good overall, and much more in the Vanduul style. Progress is looking good, and it's looking on track for a 3.2 release, alongside the Aegis Avenger rework and the 600i. It's going to be another great release with plenty of new ships to try out. At number 3, we have Reverse the Verse. This week gave us the chance to query the UI team on work for the new Item Kiosk system, and for the general Star Citizen UI. A lot of the questions were covered in ATV, but I'll cover anything new that was mentioned in this section. In 3.2, we will be introduced to the global inventory system in the game. This will be a location where items that you buy can be stored in a more permanent fashion. This place is safe and will always belong to you, and will be protected against pirates and so on. In the future, CIG would be interested in allowing NPCs to also sell items, diversifying gameplay and purchase experiences. This would mean that you may have to hunt down a specific NPC to find an item that you're looking for. With the new purchasing system, you can either put items in the global inventory, or you can apply it directly to yourself or your ship as applicable. This takes a couple of steps out of purchasing and then having to go and equip items, which I'm sure everyone will appreciate. CIG are considering alternate delivery options, such as delivery direct to hangars, but it's still in a very early stage and nothing is confirmed yet. There's currently no search option in the item kiosks, though CIG are open to building one if the player feedback shows a need. The kiosk system will allow you to compare two items to compare varying stats. In the first version, it's going to be super simplified, but in the future it will be a fully featured stat comparison system. There are currently no plans to implement a purchase history system, but it might be added in the future to allow you to go back and find items that you've previously purchased, for example ammunition for given ships. An item quantity system is being worked on to restrict the number of items available at any given location. It's currently undergoing a balance pass, but we don't have any news on when it might make its way to the verse. The new kiosk system will finally implement quantities, allowing you to buy multiples of an item. This will be especially handy when trying to stockpile ammo, a feature that's currently very frustrating. In the future, you may be able to connect to a shop using your Mobiglass and purchase that way. It would prevent huge queues waiting for an item kiosk to become free, but it isn't certain yet. This could be really interesting if it makes its way to the game, but CIG argue it would possibly detract from the realism of the shopping experience. In the future, it is technically possible for pirates to have their own shop kiosk interfaces, but there's no plan on the roadmap just yet as to whether this will actually make its way into the game. That said, Chris Roberts is a big fan of outlaw gameplay, so hopefully we'll see this make its way in the future. That's all for RTV this week. At number 2, we have events. CitizenCon tickets are still on sale this week, with 1,100 tickets remaining. The purchase speed seems to have slowed down dramatically, and CIG may even see unsold tickets for this year's event. That said, if you do want to grab a ticket, best do so early to avoid disappointment. And finally, at number 1, we have the community overview. This week saw the conclusion of the screenshot competition, but 3 new competitions popped up in its place. These are a lore competition based around an adventure on the Hercules Starlifter, and a tutorial video for either Star Marine or Arena Commander. There are 7 prizes to be won, different for each competition, ranging from a Starlifter to a Terrapin to a Saber. If you're interested in entering any of these, I'll link them down below with links to the Spectrum pages for each competition. That's all from me for this week. I'd like to say a massive thank you to all of you who've subscribed to this channel. We're just under 50 subscribers right now, and I'm so glad that you all enjoy following my content. It'd mean a huge amount to me if you can share this channel with your friends and help me make even better content for you guys. Please like the video if you liked it, get subscribed for more content, and I'll see you in next week's episode of Week in Review.